My girlfriend said her parents were complicated for 2 years. When I met them, I recognized her mother from national news. I, 28M, met my girlfriend during our final year of grad school. We connected instantly. Same interests, same dark humor, same drive. 2.5 years later, we're still going strong, but there's been this strange cloud hanging over our relationship the entire time. Her parents. From the beginning, there was always an excuse why I couldn't meet them. At first, it seemed normal. They lived across the country. They were busy professionals. Her dad had health issues that made travel difficult. I didn't think much of it initially. My own parents were eager to meet her, and she got along with them beautifully when she finally did 6 months into our relationship. As our 1-year anniversary approached, I started noticing a pattern. Every time I brought up meeting her family, my girlfriend would get visibly uncomfortable. She'd change the subject or come up with increasingly elaborate reasons why it wasn't the right time. When I pushed, she'd shut down completely or pick a fight about something unrelated. "They're just private people," she'd say. "They don't really do the whole meet the boyfriend thing unless it's very serious." "Aren't we serious?" I'd ask. "Of course we are. It's just complicated." When I'd ask her to explain what was complicated, she'd get frustrated. "You wouldn't understand. It's a cultural thing." Her family had immigrated when she was young, and while she was thoroughly Americanized, her parents apparently weren't. I tried to be understanding. I really did. I'd never been in a serious relationship with someone from a different cultural background, so maybe there were traditions or expectations I wasn't aware of. But something felt off. Over time, I noticed other strange patterns. She never took calls from her parents when I was around. She'd step outside or into another room, speaking in hushed tones. When she talked about them, the stories were vague, lacking specific details most people would include when describing their parents. We moved in together after 1.5 years. I thought surely this would prompt a meeting. Their daughter was living with a man they'd never met, but still nothing. By this point, I was starting to have serious doubts. Was she ashamed of me? Was she hiding something major about herself or her background? Was she even who she claimed to be? We had multiple arguments about it. Each time, she'd get defensive, then tearful, then apologetic, promising it would happen soon. Then nothing would change. "Do your parents even know about me?" I finally asked one night. "Are you hiding me from them, or are you hiding them from me?" She looked hurt. "Of course they know about you. I tell them everything." "Then why won't they meet me?" She sighed deeply. "It's my dad. He's traditional, and he's been sick. The timing just hasn't been right." I almost broke up with her then. The trust was eroding. How could we have a future if I couldn't even meet the people who raised her? Then, about 2 months ago, everything changed. She came home from work with a strange expression on her face. "My parents want to have us over for dinner next weekend," she said, not meeting my eyes. I was stunned. "Seriously? What changed?" "My dad's health has stabilized, and I told them how important this is to me, to us." I should have been excited, but now I was suspicious. After 2 years, just like that? What's really going on? "Nothing's going on. Do you want to meet them or not?" Her voice had an edge I rarely heard. Of course I wanted to meet them. I'd been asking for this for most of our relationship. We booked flights for the following weekend. As our trip approached, her anxiety became palpable. She barely slept, barely ate. When I tried to ask questions about her parents, what they liked, what they were interested in, even basic things like what her dad did for a living, she gave clipped, uninformative answers. "You'll see when you meet them," became her standard response. The day of the dinner arrived. We took a cab from our hotel to her parents' house in the suburbs. It was a modest but well-maintained ranch-style home. Nothing unusual about it. My girlfriend was trembling as we walked up the driveway. I reached for her hand, but she pulled away, wiping her palms on her dress. "Before we go in," she started, then stopped. "Just try to keep an open mind, okay?" Before I could ask what she meant, the front door opened. And suddenly, everything made sense. Standing in the doorway was an older man in a wheelchair. And next to him, with her hand on his shoulder, was a woman who looked exactly like my girlfriend would in 30 years. Exactly. The same eyes, the same distinctive nose, the same dimple on the right cheek when she smiled nervously. The resemblance was so strong it was unsettling. But what was truly shocking wasn't the resemblance itself. It was that I recognized this woman. Not from photos my girlfriend had shown me, because there weren't any. I recognized her from national news coverage about 5 years ago. She had been involved in a major corporate fraud scandal that had cost hundreds of people their retirement savings. Her face had been plastered across every news channel for weeks. She'd been a senior executive at a company that had systematically misled investors while the leadership cashed out just before the stock tanked. She hadn't been the mastermind, but she'd been convicted of securities fraud and sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. I remembered the case clearly because my uncle had been one of the investors who lost significant savings in the collapse. I stared, unable to process what I was seeing. My girlfriend gripped my hand painfully tight. "Please," she whispered, "just get through dinner." The next 2 hours were the most surreal of my life. Her parents were polite, educated, and articulate. Her father, despite his health issues, was sharp and engaging. In another context, I probably would have enjoyed their company. But all I could think about was the deception, both the corporate fraud that had harmed so many and the personal fraud that had been perpetrated on me for 2 years. No wonder she'd kept them hidden. No wonder there were no family photos in our apartment. No wonder she never took calls from them when I was around. Her mother never directly acknowledged her past. The conversation stayed firmly in safe territories: my work, my interests, how my girlfriend and I had met. When the topic drifted toward her parents' lives, they spoke vaguely about career transitions and difficult periods that they'd moved beyond. My girlfriend barely spoke during dinner. She pushed food around her plate and refilled her wine glass several times. After dessert, her father asked to speak with me privately. My girlfriend looked panicked, but didn't object as he led me to his home office. "I know you recognized my wife," he said without preamble once the door closed behind us. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "And I know you're wondering why our daughter kept us from you for so long." He sighed deeply. "It wasn't her idea. It was mine." He explained that after the scandal and his wife's release from prison, they tried to build a quiet life away from the spotlight. They'd changed their phone numbers, minimized their digital footprint, and kept to themselves. His health problems, a combination of heart issues and multiple sclerosis, were real, but they'd also become a convenient excuse to avoid social situations where his wife might be recognized. "Our daughter was just starting her career when all this happened," he said. "She wasn't involved in any way, but the association alone could have derailed her future. We asked her to distance herself from us publicly, to protect herself. For 2 years, though, I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. She lied to me for 2 years." He nodded sadly. "That's on us, not her. We kept pushing back, telling her it wasn't the right time. We were afraid of exactly this, that you'd recognize my wife and judge our daughter for something she had no part in." "I wouldn't have," I said, though I wasn't entirely sure that was true. "Wouldn't you?" His gaze was steady. "You're doing it right now." The drive back to the hotel was silent. When we finally reached our room, the dam broke. "How could you keep this from me?" I demanded. 2 years, and you never thought to mention that your mother is a convicted felon?" She flinched. "That's why right there. The way you said that, like that's all she is. Like that's all my family is." What was I supposed to think? "You've been lying to me since the day we met." "I never lied," she fired back. "I just omitted certain details until I knew I could trust you." "Trust me? I'm the one who's been deceived here." The argument went in circles for hours. She explained how devastating the scandal had been for her family, how she'd lost friends, how she'd had to change her last name professionally, how she'd spent years rebuilding her life only to have people ghost her the moment they made the connection. Her mother had made terrible mistakes, yes, but she'd served her time. The family had paid restitution to the extent they could. They were trying to move forward. "You should have told me," I insisted. "When?" she asked tiredly. "On our 3rd date. By the way, my mom went to federal prison for fraud. Hope that's not a deal breaker. Or maybe when we moved in together, when it would have been so much harder to walk away." "I wouldn't have walked away. You don't know that," she said. "And neither did I. That was 2 months ago. I'd like to say we worked through it immediately, but that would be a lie. I moved out temporarily. I needed space to think." The betrayal cut deep. Not just because she'd hidden such a significant part of her life, but because she hadn't trusted me enough to give me the chance to understand. And if I'm honest, part of me was angry because my uncle had been among those hurt by her mother's actions. The connection felt too close, too personal. But as weeks passed, I found myself missing her terribly. I thought about what her father had said, that I was judging her for something she had no part in. And he was right. She hadn't committed fraud. She hadn't deceived investors. She'd been barely out of college when it all happened. Her only crime was protecting her family and herself from the fallout. I called her. We met for coffee, then dinner. We talked, really talked, about trust, about family loyalty, about the secrets we keep to protect ourselves and others. "I should have told you sooner," she admitted. "But I was afraid of losing you. And the longer I waited, the harder it became to bring it up." I understood that fear. I didn't condone the deception, but I understood it. "What your mother did was wrong," I told her. "But making you pay for her mistakes for the rest of your life would be wrong too." We're back together now, taking things slowly. I've met her parents again, this time with clearer eyes. Her mother is not just her crime. She's a complex person who made terrible choices, but also raised a daughter I love deeply. Her father is not just an enabler, He's a man trying to protect his family while battling serious health issues. The relationship isn't the same as before. The innocent bubble of our early days is gone. But in its place is something potentially stronger, a relationship based on difficult truths rather than comfortable omissions. I don't know if we'll make it long-term. The trust is still being rebuilt day by day. But I do know that judging people solely by their worst actions, or by the actions of their family members, leaves no room for redemption or growth. Sometimes the things people hide aren't evidence of who they truly are, but reflections of the pain they're trying to move beyond. Sometimes the most important things to understand about someone are not what they show you immediately, but what they're most afraid to reveal.